How the hell do I do this? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I worked for you at Beachers, and so that's how we met. And then, so I guess I want to know how you, I mean, you were DJing, but I want to know how you transitioned into Super Crew. That's what I'm really
Oh, so you want to go further back?
I want to start, from Beachers, you left and you were still DJing in LA and Vegas. And then, right. What happened after that? Let's go there.
Oh, so after Vegas?
No, I mean,
after Beachers.
Were you at Beachers? I forget. Were you at Beachers in Vegas too, DJing? Or no? Why do I feel like
not
you just
early on? His second run in Vegas, I was the resident for that.
Okay.
Because he had his first run in Vegas, which was at the Hard Rock, and that's where I came to know them, or Beacher himself. And then he moved over to LA, and then that's around the time I came to LA. And then that's when I became resident there. And then when he went back to Vegas, I DJ'd that when he was at the MGM. But as far as the Super Cr3w stuff, I was a part of the Super Cr3w stuff years before Beacher.
Yeah, how did you, I mean, you're a break dancer, right? I'm assuming that's how it kind of started.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, probably a lot older than you. And I used to break dance when I was young. And I know that break dance, it's funny because I spoke to a shuffler yesterday.
Okay.
And the main two things is the running man, which I used to do when I was, and the moonwalk, I think. And then there's some other thing that she had mentioned too. So breakdancing, I guess, is still a big, huge part of this, of the culture, of the festivals. I mean, I guess that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, breaking is kind of a weird thing in the world because it's kind of like, I mean, it's a bit of an extreme comparison, but like how soccer is, as far as how it is perceived in the States and how it's perceived everywhere else in the world.
My main man, Mike Murda.
So tired of the back and forth. Walk out and slam that door. Go looking for someone new, but there's nothing better than sex with you. Hell no, we can't be friends without the benefits. Love up and jealous dude, but who the hell is that texting you?
It might just be slow internet.
Yeah, well, everybody is home right now, so you're sharing bandwidths with a million people at this point.
With everybody.
Yep. So let's go back to, I didn't know that you were doing Super Cr3w before you were DJing. That was something that you were doing simultaneously?
When I was DJing? No, I actually started dancing way before. Okay. I started dancing in 97. Yeah, that's about the time that I started. And I just kind of went through like the competition ring. It's like anything. You start locally and you start going to like little battles and you kind of become part of the community there and you make a little bit of a name for yourself and you start to travel to neighboring cities and finding the culture over there and finding out about the battles, a couple $100 or something like that for a prize. And then you're always kind of told stories about Los Angeles or what's going on out everywhere else in the world. Because this is pre-internet. This is pre-DVDs. So all you're getting is word of mouth. And if you're lucky, maybe like a bootleg of a bootleg of a bootleg VHS cassette might make it to your city, and you might be lucky enough to know the guy that has that video.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me. We ended up seeing B-Boy Summit 96, and just, you know, I was kind of in at that point. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And start traveling more, and started winning a little bit in some other places like neighboring states, Arizona, New Mexico mainly, maybe down in Texas. I was in Texas at the time. And then when I turned 18, a bunch of my friends had moved to Vegas already, and I knew it was kind of a no-brainer. I knew I wanted to go to Vegas. So, because I already had people there also, you know, it's like you have some friends, it's cheap to live, it's convenient, it's, you know, it was everything that I needed at the time. So I moved over to Vegas, and we just started breaking. I got like shitty restaurant jobs. I was fired from like every restaurant in Vegas because I took too much time off to go to competitions and battles. And so just kept doing that. That was years of my life, really, just years. And I would quit the job to go to whatever battle that I wouldn't be given time for. And then I would come back, and I'd have to look for another job, and then get a job, and then be training for another battle, and go to that battle, and then go to another battle, and then get fired from the job because I took too much time off. And then I'd find another job, and so on and so forth. That was the cycle. And so Super Cr3w wasn't like a thing yet. So the whole thing behind Super Cr3w was I ended up getting into a crew called Knucklehead Zoo. Actually, the trophies in the back, like those are all Knucklehead Zoo trophies for the most part. So I ended up getting the Knucklehead Zoo, and then there was 2 other crews like around Southern California and Vegas called Full Force and Battle Monkeys. And they weren't big crews, and neither were we. So whenever we'd go to events, we were all friends, so we would enter together. Like us, these 3 crews would always enter together. And when we would go to these events and just call these people out, like all the big names, all the big, you know, the popular B-boys, the famous B-boys at the time. And we'd go call out all these dudes, and everybody would be wondering, like, who's battling? They'd be like, oh, well, Style Elements and Super Cr3w. But it was really, they called it a Super Cr3w because it was 3 crews. And then that's where the name came from. And then everybody started chanting Super Cr3w, Super Cr3w. And then it just kind of became a thing. Super Cr3w kind of became Voltron, where it was like, it was 3 crews, but whenever we all came together, it was Super Cr3w. So that's kind of the origins of Super Cr3w and how that came to be. But once it was already established, a show called America's Best Dance Crew had come along on MTV. And it was the first season that they did. First season was a hit. Jabberwockies won the first season. And we auditioned for the second season. As soon as they won, they were already auditioning for the second season. Those are like our good friends.
Right.
So we ended up auditioning for the second season, got on the second season, won the second season, and then we were out on tour with Jabberwockies and Super Cr3w like for years. And then Super Cr3w just kind of, it became a thing. Like it was official. It was like a thing, you know? It was really weird the way it all kind of snowballed. It's a long-winded answer, but.
No, it's fine. And what's the difference between Super Cr3w and Jabberwockies, really?
Well, Super Cr3w is primarily a B-boy crew, really.
Okay.
It's like a bunch of primarily B-boys who can dance, and Jabberwocky is a bunch of primarily dancers who can B-boy, I guess, is like a kind of a clever way of putting it.
Okay.
But we share members. So like a couple of the guys who were part of Super Cr3w were also part of Jabberwockies. And then when we first opened the show in Vegas, their first show in Vegas, that was really like a Super Cr3w Jabberwockies collaboration for that show. And that's just, you know, it's just kind of, we all just kind of became family. And then Jabberwockies became obviously like a huge thing. It's like they're an entity, they're a corporation now. So now it's like a business thing. Now Jabberwockies, it's its own thing, and they're doing mind-blowing things in the scene right now. But yeah, that's kind of how that relationship was.
How did you transition from, because you've been dancing since you were a child, basically, how'd you transition into DJing?
The DJ thing, it came just, I was just around it all the time. When I first moved to Vegas, one of the first people I lived with, he was a B-boy, but he was a DJ also. And so I was just around it. And he worked at a hip hop store in Vegas called Hip Hop Site. So if there's anybody who knows like any like history of the hip hop scene in Vegas or even globally, hip hop site, like you knew what hip hop site was. Before DJ City or any of the Break the Crates or any of the online record pools, DJs used to have to go online and order their vinyl and whatever was coming out. Say like if Jay-Z was dropping a new album or something like that, DJs needed the vinyl because there was no Serato, there was no laptops for DJing. So they would call hip hop site. And I was one of the guys in the back that worked there that would package the vinyl for all these DJs and send it all over the world. So I was around it all the time. I was constantly around it. And then I lived with DJs the whole time I was in Vegas. So I kind of had a knack for it. I knew music. And it wasn't until I moved to LA after like 2007. I moved to LA and I had DJ'd a small party for a friend of mine. He was doing something on Sunset, like at some club or something like that. And he was throwing a night and he asked me if I could DJ. I was like, oh, sure, I'll do it. And I just did it just for something to do. And then another friend of mine he was kind of blown away. He's like, I didn't know you DJ. I'm like, I don't really DJ. And it's like, it's kind of like it's a hobby. Because at the time, DJing was like blowing up. Everybody was trying to become a DJ. This is like the prime EDM explosion where like Calvin Harris and David Guetta and Deadmau5 were like skyrocketing. And they were becoming a thing. And then everybody was jumping on the DJ bandwagon. And I was so reluctant. I was like, I'm not going to jump into this thing. And so the friend of mine that saw me DJing at the thing, he said, I don't see why you don't do this. And I'm like, because everybody's a DJ and whatever. And he had to connect to a DJ management company and they wanted to meet me. And I met with them and they were like, we'd love to bring you on because you're like new to LA and we're building our roster. And I'm like, I don't. I was like, I was so like against it, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. And they started putting me out in LA a little bit. And mind you, I had like no experience like DJing clubs, like Hollywood clubs. So I think I was kind of tanking at most of these sets.
Why did you move to? What was the original reason to come out to LA from Vegas in the first place?
Oh, so when I was living in Vegas, I felt like Vegas is an amazing place. It really is. But for me, I felt like being in the entertainment industry, I felt like it was a moving walkway of progress. You're not like really going up, you're not going down, you're just kind of coasting. That's how entertainment is in Vegas for me, because you go in, you do a Cirque show or something like that. That's a 2-year contract. And when you're done, it's like hit the road or you sign another year contract, another year extension. And so goes life, you know, but you just kind of do this, you ride the wave, which is great if you have like a family and a wife or responsibilities, and security in the entertainment industry is like kind of a hard thing to come by sometimes. So I was young enough that I was like, I'm not really trying to settle down. And it felt like the next logical step would be to come to LA and do the actual industry thing, like as far as movies, commercials, music videos, whatever. And I had already had a management agent out here in LA. So it just worked. It was like, and my living situation in Vegas was changing at the moment. And I was like, well, fuck it, let's go to LA. And I came out here. I already had an agent. So I came out here and just kind of started doing the dancing, the audition thing and the commercial thing and all like the model stuff. And I did everything. I did all of it. But then I kind of fell into the DJ thing. But I was still dancing. I was still doing all the Super Cr3w stuff. And then so once I started doing the DJ thing, like, and they're putting me out like Boulevard 3. And like there was like a place at Universal Studios on City Walk. What was it? There was like a club up there.
Yeah, well, BB King's was next to it, right? It was the upper air. It was like in that little circle in the middle. It was right above it. Yeah, I forget what the name of the club was. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, it's gonna kill me what the name of that place was, but
it'll come to you.
Yeah, I played at a bunch of these places and like little tours around for different brands, and you know, I was kind of getting into it. And then that was around the time I had run into Beecher, like randomly, super randomly. I ran into Beecher, and he was just opening LA's the Roosevelt Beachers Madhouse.
Right, first time.
Right, first time. Like they had opened maybe like a week prior, and I guess he was trying to find a DJ, and he, you know, I went and had lunch with him at the Roosevelt, and he like wolfed down like a couple burgers, and he was just like, "So what's going on, buddy? What's going on?" And I'm like, yeah, just DJing. He's like, why don't you got to DJ my club. This is going to be the place. This is going to be the place. It's going to be, I'm going to make it the biggest DJ in the world, buddy. You're going to be so famous. And I'm like, sure. Okay. You know, you're laughing because you know Beacher well.
Oh yeah, no, so that's so him right there, right? Oh yeah,
Right.
So you're doing, you're DJing for him. Are you still Super Crew during
Yeah,
during that
I was
time?
doing all of it. I was doing all of it. Like I'd be leaving on the weekend and just kind of doing gigs or touring with Super Crew and then coming back and then jumping into the Beachers Madhouse thing. But I was also like in a theater school, so I'm like at like full-time theater plus doing Super Crew plus doing the DJ stuff. So I made it work. I don't know how I made it work, but I made it work. And plus, Beachers was 2 days a week.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was only Wednesdays and Saturdays at the beginning. It was just Wednesdays and Saturdays. So
right,
I mean,
and then towards the end, it was just like Friday, Saturday, or Saturday or something like that.
Or just Saturday, yeah.
Just Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I made it work. I don't know how I made it work, but it worked. And plus, you know what? And not for nothing, it also worked because that place was kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
You know, so like if it were like a proper club, like run by a corporation or like had union members behind it, it probably wouldn't have worked out. There's no way. It would have been much more regimented, but because it was like nobody knew what was going on at any point, which was part of the charm of the club. You know, that was why people went, because it was a shit show.
Because it was a madhouse, basically, really.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, and that's the thing. Any normal club owner would never let you leave and come and go and all that stuff. But obviously, he loved you and enjoyed, you know, and he knew you knew how to run the show. You knew how to play what music. So he never had. Every time we used to bring in a new DJ, he would just, you know, spitting out of the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. People always tell me that. People always say like, "Oh man, he loved you," and I'm like, I don't know if he loved me. I think he just hated me less than he hated everybody else.
You know, people say that to me too. Whenever I used to interview after I left there, they'd be like, "I don't get it. How did you work for that?" And I'm like, you have to understand that in my opinion, the way that my dealings were with him were, if he wasn't screaming at me, it's gonna sound so bad, but if he wasn't screaming at me, he didn't care. Like he needed you to he was very passionate about his stuff. So, and during those hours of work, he was just a fucking terror. Like you couldn't, people just didn't understand how I could work with him. But I would go out with him after, or go to a dinner or hang out at the house, or then he was a normal human being. People don't understand that what you see at the club is not really what he is. And obviously back then he was very miserable and out of shape and very unhealthy and very stressed and depression and all that. So that kind of took.
I'm sure. I mean, that was kind of obvious, but I imagine it's got to be one of those things where it's like, I mean, I stayed away from him for the most part outside of the club because I saw what he was at the club. And like, I knew that the closer you got to him and the more you interacted with him, usually the worse it was for you in the long run.
Oh, no, for me, for sure. Everyone said, how many times did you get fired from him? And I'm like, it depended on the week. Like, it wasn't like every couple of months. Or I mean, it really just, I would walk out consistently. And then 2 hours later, he'd be like, he's done being a baby, come back. So, yeah, no, I try. It's tough because there was a lot of times where I had to spend time with him outside of work anyways, because of the thing, you know, if we were doing events or parties
where you were
and
fully
stuff.
immersed in the experience.
Yes, 100%. So I didn't have time to say, hey, I'm going to go on a tour or something, because he'd be like, yeah, no, you're not. You're here. I pay you very well to be here. Be here all the time.
Yeah, I made it a point to be pretty scarce unless I was absolutely needed or I was like working. This is my set time.
Right.
You know.
You're at Beachers Madhouse in Los Angeles. From there, we go over and open Vegas. You take that transition with him for a little while too, yeah?
I did. I took that transition for almost like a year.
Did you move back out there, or were you going back and forth?
No, I was commuting every single week to Vegas.
Because Saj was doing that for a long time too, right?
Yeah, Saj, who ran the lights and sound at that club. Man, God bless that guy. If you want to talk about people who put up with shit, like, and got fired on a regular basis and were treated like shit, he he is at the top of the food chain, and he took it like right on the champ, like a fucking seasoned boxer.
Yep.
All the time. He was such a good dude. Sometimes I get mad at him for not standing up to himself.
Yeah, no, I got angry with him a lot. And I got a lot of those phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning after, a long night of being screamed at, and him on his drive home going, are you seriously, like, come on? And I'm like, no, you can't quit. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm like, no, you can't. You can. You'll kill us. You'll kill us. I don't care. Yeah, no, he was definitely a champ. And I respect him very much so for the stuff that he went through, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I would tell him all the time. I said, Saj, I want to see you come in here, just fucking tell him to go fuck himself and storm out the door, because what people don't realize is you are Oz. You are the great and powerful guy behind the curtain, literally pulling all of the fucking strings and pushing all the buttons and all the cues. If you leave here, there is no show. And he can threaten you all he wants, but there is no show without you. And he just refused to do it. He was just so scared. He's a good dude. That's all it was. He's just a good dude.
He had job security because he always had his own laptop. He had his own files. He had his own, he knew everything. So when someone new would come in, that's why, Beecher towards the end, like the 5th or 6th time we've opened the venues, was like, get your own laptop. Whoever's going to operate lights, whoever's going to do music, we're going to have our own laptops, and they can come in and work off of our laptops. So that stuff is always there. So he was getting smarter in the end, but Saj had a huge job security.
Right. Yeah, I was like, you're never going to get fired from this place.
No.
But he was always so scared. He was so scared he was going to lose the job. But so I went out there. Saj had made the move. Also, he moved officially out to Vegas. Mm-hmm. But there's no way I was going to move back to Vegas. I was like, I just moved out of Vegas a few years back. And I felt like going back, it was going to be the same thing. I was going to fall into the same kind of routine.
Yeah, all over again.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why myself and Pete, who was the host of the night, the MC, me and him would literally just take turns just commuting. We would leave here on like Friday night or Friday afternoon, get to Vegas Friday night, get some food, go to the room, change, come down, do the club, next day, have your day, and then do the club on Saturday night, and literally straight from the club to the car back to LA. So we were home in LA by like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Sunday morning. And that was every weekend for probably over a year.
So after that year, what was your last day? Was your last day like, was it a close? See, I don't remember. I don't think you made it till we closed. I think you left before that.
I didn't. Okay. I didn't know, because they were cutting all their budgets. They were cutting everything. They were kind of hanging on by a string towards the end in Vegas, which means that like they didn't have as many room comps anymore. The pay scale went down. It was just a number of things that were just all kind of adding up, and it was like it didn't make sense for me to come out there after all that. And they cut it down to like a 1 day or something like that. It just wasn't worth it for me anymore to go out there. And then a good friend of mine, Logan, DJ Casanova out in Vegas, he ended up taking that job. And they only lasted for maybe like another like few months.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that much long after that. So they started cutting down the hours. You said, I'm done. I can't. It's not worth the money to drive out here. What do you do next? Where do you go to next? What's after that?
After that, I just came back to. I was back in LA already, and I was just DJing just freelance places. I would play. Which I still do, and not currently with all the craziness going on, but
right.
I started playing like in Vegas a little bit at On the Record, which is Park MGM.
Yep, that's Johnny and the Twins, right?
Yeah, the Rocket Houston Twins,
Houston brothers, yeah.
Houston brothers.
Houston
right?
brothers. Yeah.
Why do I call them? I don't call them the Houston Rockets. I was like the Rocket Brothers. No, the Houston brothers. But yeah, over at their place in Vegas, which is awesome. And then there's like a couple places like the Federal out in Long Beach, and they had one in North Hollywood, and like Highlight Room, just doing freelance DJ stuff, really. And then private parties, like still like a lot of like celebrity Hollywood type of circles. So that always kept me busy. And then the Super Cr3w stuff, like that never stopped.
Right.
So we just actually finished a tour in Asia maybe like 3 months ago, just right before all the quarantine stuff started happening.
Oh.
Take it slow, but it's not typical. He already knows that my love is fire. His heart was a stone, but then his hands were on. I turned him to gold and it took him.
They're still booking you out to do. So Jabberwockies don't tour. They're strictly Vegas.
No, they'll tour, but
okay.
they have like the thing is they've turned it into like a thing, kind of like Blue Man Group. If you go
Right,
see the
I was
Blue
just
Man
gonna
Group, you're
say
not
Blue
seeing.
Man- yeah.
Yeah, you're not seeing the Blue Man Group. You're seeing three guys that like were generations later kind
Right.
of took the role and like
Yeah.
and they're gone on like Friday, and there's like another three guys that
Yeah.
come in on like their day off.
Yeah. And the Jabberwockies are you can. I
And
know
so
the original.
Jabberwockies is no different. So now
Yeah,
they
they-
have like a cast of people that they've been grooming for years.
They have masks, right? The Jabberwockies have masks. So, but the Blue Man Group, I know the original three members because I met them, and you can tell. I know it's me; I'm weird that way, but I can tell that the faces in when you have blue face, you can tell that their faces are different. So it's yeah, you can't do it with the Jabberwockies. It seems like they can cover it up a lot easier, so you can't really tell that it's not the same guys that you saw the night before or
For
whatever.
sure. Yeah. So, but the original guys, they don't really dance in the show too much anymore. I mean, they do every once in a while if they need somebody, but I'm learned like maybe if it's like a really big gig or something like that, a couple of them might step in. But for the most part, man, they've kind of got they got a good business going right now, and they have like a cast of guys that they've groomed over the years to be Jabberwockies, and that's kind of their A squad now.
And so they have a licensing deal, basically. Where are they now? What hotel are they still in Vegas? Yes.
Yeah, they're at Beachers Madhouse, old theater.
I think they were. I think that was towards the end. That was what was happening. They were starting to share it. MGM wanted them in that stage, so he could only have it certain nights. And they
Right.
and the transition between the two was just it wasn't smooth at all. So Beecher
No.
just kind of was like, "This is ridiculous. You guys are clearly trying to push me out, so I'll go." And he got very rich getting pushed out, actually. So I think he'll be okay.
Oh yeah, because he always used to tout around town saying he signed a $100 million contract.
I don't know if it was that much, but he definitely walked out of there with a couple. He definitely because they technically broke his contract, so they have to pay out his contract, and there's like a payout. I mean, I don't know what the number was, but it definitely was a few $1 million, maybe 5 or 10 or something crazy like that. So he hasn't worked in years, so I'm assuming it was a lot of money, or he's doing something else.
That actually makes some sense.
Yeah, I haven't spoke to him in a while. I bumped into Barbie, actually.
I saw her too. I was up at Highlight Room in Hollywood, and she was at the door.
Yeah, she's at the door there now, I think 2 or 3 nights. But she's also a sports agent. I think that's what she does. She works for a sports agency. I don't know if she's an actual agent. So we started talking. We had coffee one day, and she needed something. She needed for some celebrities for a golf outing. So she had called me to see if I could get some. So she's doing that. And I don't even know who. I mean, I talked to Marky. Marky lives a couple blocks away from me, so I see her often. I'm trying to think of who else was in there. I don't see Pete, but I see Pete doing well on his comedy stuff. Yes?
Yeah, he's been touring. He's always out on the road, like Nick Swardsden or somebody, or doing some sort of VH1 thing. Or
yeah,
he's doing good. I actually talked to him yesterday,
really?
briefly over text. Yeah.
Well, everyone's getting back to you at this point in time. That's the great thing. Like, I'm actually getting emails back and texts back. It's like the perfect time for people like me who rarely get calls back usually. So you have no
bitch,
excuse
you ain't got nothing
now.
going on.
Yeah. What's the goal for this year, I guess, is really the next question, or what's
I mean,
next?
to survive
Yeah.
at this point. But no, I mean, who knows how long this thing's going to last? I mean, it's hard to make any plans. Like, nobody's making any plans right now because nobody, either like, one, we don't have a date, or two, we have a date that nobody believes because we've had dates before, it's like it keeps on getting set back. But man, the entertainment world is reeling from this, and the music world and the live performance and DJs, and everybody's hit super hard. I mean, I lost a European tour. I was supposed to be leaving like in a few days. I lost a couple of Vegas gigs. I lost, and then a bunch of stuff, dating all the way back to like August, August, September even. Things got pushed way back. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, luckily I'm in a good position considering how much I was working the first part of the year. And, I can only imagine for somebody that was like having a rough go of it and then this hit.
Bartenders and waitresses, cocktail waitresses, I mean, they don't suck away. You know those girls and guys, they don't suck away any money. They're
no way.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Those girls make their money and they go out and buy their shoes and their purses and their asses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I was watching the news this morning and they said something. I mean, obviously they pushed us to the end of the month, April 30th. That's the stay-at-home quarantine thing. But they are talking about some not new drugs that they've been doing that are actually showing good signs. So it could they're hoping, they're not going to tell you it's going to be May, but the underground, the doctors and the CDC and all those people, I just said EDC, that's funny. The CDC are all looking at
the EDC. The EDC.
EDC. They're looking at, the CDC is looking at it being in that everyone kind of slowly getting back into the thing first week of May-ish kind of a situation. So we shall see. I mean,
but
only time will tell.
even then, like, let's say they lift all the bans and all that stuff, like how long realistically do you think it takes to get back to normal, or do things even get back to normal at all? Is this going to change like everybody's perspective? Like things in life are going to change permanently from this, right? And what are those things?
Well, I follow a lot of comedians. I watch a lot of their podcasts on YouTube, and
which I appreciate, because it seems like, for me, doing the same thing, I listen to a lot of comedians. It feels like they kind of got their finger right on the pulse of like what's happening. Well, usually, right?
The ones that I follow are Tom Segura, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Whitney Cummings. Although that little circle, they're all best friends with Dr. Drew. Right. So he's getting all that information. So I'm assuming that's where he's getting. It's the only thing I can think of is that they're texting him or emailing him or calling him and saying what is going on. And most of the doctors, because I watched some of he does a live podcast style thing, a live stream, and he will sit and talk and answer questions as people call in or write in. And he gets these journals of some sort or emails every morning, basically what the CDC is getting. So he's getting the same information that they are. We're trying this drug. It's on its 7th day. It's doing very well. We don't see any side effects. Like, he's getting that information.
I went out. I've been, because I can't go to the gym, obviously. I was out running. I went out on a bike ride. And I came across this guy who was like walking out of like a bank, or he was walking down Magnolia. And he looked like he was wearing like half of a spacesuit, like the bottom half, when you go like fly fishing and you wear those biggie kind of overalls that like cover your feet.
Yeah,
right.
The waders,
and they come like up to like the middle of your chest, and they have the suspenders that like hold them up, and they're all like baggy. He was wearing those.
Okay.
And he had gloves, and he looked like he was wearing dish gloves, right? Like he was just like finished washing dishes. And then he had like the face mask on, but over the face mask, he had like one of those like little like kind of helmets that has like the plastic screen that comes and shields your face.
Yeah.
He was wearing all of that, like with his hands out, and just walking to his car. And I was like, too much.
Yeah, no. Some people are taking it a little bit out of control. I mean, I'm definitely a hand washer anyways. And if I go out, I will use gloves, especially if I'm going to use the ATM if I need money, or if I'm going to the supermarket and I use the keypad. But yeah, I don't. That's definitely but getting back to the comedians, were saying that by the time this is done, people are going to want to get out. So I know, like Highlight Room, for example, they're going to be like, yo, come, let's drink and party and have a good time. Like, I think that's essentially what could potentially happen. I don't, that's what I'm thinking will happen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I said that also. I was like, I feel like there's going to get like, nightlife is going to get this crazy boom. and restaurants are going to get this crazy boom and all this other stuff. And then a friend of mine, just kind of playing devil's advocate, was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going anywhere for a little bit, even after this shit's done. And I was like, that's a good point too. I could see a lot of people being like, nah, I'm not going out. Like, this thing's going to spread right over again. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm curious to see like which way the pendulum's going to swing, you know?
Yeah, I could see both. I could definitely see both ways. People saying that. I mean, me personally, I'm going out that night that we can go. Or yeah, it may not be that day. They might not be like, okay, you can start slowly going back to it, and everyone's partying that night. It may take a week or two, especially because once they lift it, it's not going to be. It's the virus is still going to be there. We don't have anything for it. It's basically if you get it once they lift it, it'll be if you do get it, we now have something that you can take, like a flu vac. They don't have any vaccines for it. They won't have a vaccine for it till next year. So these experimental drugs that they're working with right now are, it's going to be your pill that you'll be able to pop that you won't die. That once they have that and it's proven grounds, then I think that's when they'll start telling us we can go out. But you're right, they probably won't. I mean, I'll try to go out. I mean, I'm going to Disneyland. Probably will be the first place that I go anyways. But yeah, I probably won't.
Geez, that's going to be the most poppin' place in America.
I know. Who knows? Maybe. I mean, everyone says that's a big petri dish anyway. So I'm hoping that it'll actually be dead for a couple of weeks and we can get in there and have a good time. But so you're DJing now. Are you making music or are you producing it all?
I am actually for the last year. I completely forgot. For the last year, I've been over at the LA Recording School on Sunset. So getting a degree in music sciences, recording, music sciences, music production.
Right. What are they teaching you on? What DAW are they teaching you on?
We started for the first 6 months on Logic, and then we moved to Ableton for about 4 months, or maybe like 4 or 5 months, and now we're kind of dipping into to Pro Tools.
Pro Tools. And I guess I'll have to wait till you go through you have to go through Pro Tools, but do you have one the breakdown, because I come from Pro Tools, that's all I've ever worked. I have Logic also, but I only normally work on Pro Tools.
Man, I struggle with Pro Tools.
At the beginning you will, but I'm sure you struggled with Logic when you first started too. I mean,
Logic was actually the easiest one.
Oh, really?
Because it's so similar to GarageBand. It's like the beefed up GarageBand. If you know how to like manage GarageBand, I would always use it for like little edits here and there, like whatever I had to do for dance shit.
Yeah.
And so once I opened Logic, I was like, oh, this is just like a professional version of GarageBand. So it's like, okay, I kind of hit the ground running on that. And then once you just start to get like a hang of it and like you're really starting to like dig deep into it, and then they're like, all right, next month we start Ableton. It's like, fuck, you start all over again.
But knowing all three of those is really good anyways, because a lot of producers and studios, engineers, it's a multitude of DAWs that they work on. Regardless, I've seen even, a lot of the big rappers, hip hop artists, the mixers for those guys, they're using Logic to do the actual track, and then they transport the stems into Pro Tools. It's always been
that's kind of what I'm finding right now. That's what a lot of people are doing at LA Recording School. And what I do also currently is produce pretty much everything on Ableton, and then we go into the studios and we lay down vocals and we do all the mixing and mastering through Pro Tools.
Yeah. And just I tell everybody this, the little quick background of Pro Tools is one of those companies, still is one of those companies. They've kind of changed a little bit, but it's one of those companies where they're like, hey, listen, you want a violin sound on this track? And you're like, yes. And they're like, okay, go get the violin, bring him over here, put the microphone, teach you how to do it, all that, and then record it. Where Logic is, hey, do you want a violin on that track? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, push this button. That's what you get. That's really the difference. It's basically, Pro Tools is live instrument. Really, it's really about live instruments, drums, guitars.
That's what I'm getting, or just like live, from what I'm seeing right now, that like majority of the vocals people are laying down like all on Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't understand that. I mean, you can get good vocals on Logic too. I understand the mixing part of it. I don't understand it. I just think that you could do the same stuff in Pro Tools that you can do in Logic, and in Ableton, everything you can do the same things. It's just there's a little bit more. You need a little bit more plugins for Pro Tools than you would for Logic. Logic comes with a lot of that noise and drum beats and all that kind of thing. So
Right. Yeah. But the first day that we started the course on Pro Tools, like the first day, like 8 hours was just downloading plugins. Just plugins after plugin after plugin, then open some other thing and download some more plugins. But I've been trying really hard to get efficient with Ableton, just because it was the most difficult to me, and like it looked like hieroglyphics, and I was just determined to learn it. I was like, I'm not gonna let this DAW like defeat me, because I tried to mess with it prior to being at LA Recording School, and like there's just no way I couldn't imagine somebody just opening up Ableton, as ugly as like the interface of it is, and just figuring that out. Like it's written in hieroglyphics, like the whole thing. So I was determined to get to know it. Even while I'm currently in a Pro Tools class, I'm still like, I get home, well, not now, but I make it a point to spend some time like working on things on Ableton, figure it out. Even if I know I can do it in Logic, it's like, no, I'm gonna figure this shit out in Ableton.
right. How long you been going to that school? How long's the semester?
Well, the entire course itself is like just shy of 2 years.
Okay.
For the associate's degree, and I'm like a year and change into it, something like that.
So you'll finish up. Well, maybe when when were you supposed to finish up?
At the end of this year, but right now, like I was in a Pro Tools class this month, and once everything happened with the quarantine and the pandemic, they moved everything to online, which sucks because being in a Pro Tools class and all of a sudden like you're at home, it's like this isn't the same as being in studio or having the ability to jump in studio and work on Pro Tools with the teacher and the teacher's aid and get the help you need. And now they're like, we'll be on email. I'm like, man, I can't explain to you what my problem is through an email. Is going to take all day,
When I first learned Pro Tools, it was so much better to have someone actually there to be like, hey, well, what's the quick key for this? Or how do I do this? And him to be, and even back in that day, if he couldn't come over, we used to do the desktop sharing, which you can still do.
Oh, yeah.
Where he'll go on and be like, see this, take my mouse and be like, here's the clip. I mean, that was a long time ago, but so I understand what you're saying, like having that teacher where you can be like, yo, how do I do that really quick? Or what did I do wrong? Or that, that's cool.
Yeah,
so
I was in that class this month and I dropped the class after like 2 online classes. And I was like, I'm not doing this. So I actually dropped the class. So I'm pushing it back and I'll take it again. Hopefully once this whole thing ends. But next month I'm doing a class online, and I wanted to say it's like music business essentials or something like that. So an online credit. But being at LA Recording Institute it's been dope, man. It's been a lot of fun and I'm learning a lot. My only issue with like music schools like that is they throw so much information at you in such a short truncated period of time that by the time you go in the next day, it's like you forgot. It's just you're like, you're throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's like, all right, let's see what sticks.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. I mean, it kind of sucks that we're doing this right now. It would have been better to do this via a coffee or be able to hang out and have a drink. But I did want to catch up with you. And I was starting these podcasts. I had a list of people. You were on the list of people who were coming in to come to my studio. And, this little virus thing happened and I couldn't do this. And I saw a lot of podcasters doing this Zoom thing. So I'm like, I'll try it for a little while and see what happens.
Everybody's podcasters are doing the Zoom thing and DJs are doing the Instagram Live thing. And I don't know.
I saw you doing that. Were you doing Instagram Live or did you just do a video?
I did an Instagram Live for a friend of mine. They were raising money for something. It was like to feed somebody, some community or something like that. But they did like an online thing where different artists would take like a certain time slot and then people would kind of jump from account to account. And with Super Cr3w, we did one where I DJ'd and one of the other guys, Dunock in my crew in Super Cr3w, he paints. He does the live painting thing. he does a really cool live painting thing where he like has a black canvas and he paints with black paint, you know, and you just paint. You're not really sure what he's doing.
Right.
You just kind of like dabbing away at it. And after like maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes or however long, he does it quick. He takes like a cannon and like presses like a button, and the cannon like shoots like a wad of glitter at the canvas. And then when all the glitter falls off, it's like Michael Jackson or like Bob Marley or something like that.
Oh my God. That's cool as shit.
Yeah, we were just doing it on tour in Asia. So I was DJing for the concert. So Super Crew, we did a tour in Asia, and I was DJing for the concerts that we were doing. And so it was like a Super Crew show. So I was dancing in it also. But then there was periods where I would DJ and kind of run, you know, the arena. And then one of the sections was Dunak would come out and do that painting skit. And I'll play like a Michael Jackson, you know, medley. And then at the end of it, the glitter thing. It was dope.
How's the show set up usually? Like, how does that, like, what's the set times and what happens each minute of each show? How does that usually work with you guys?
Well, we did like a month of rehearsal prior to the show. So we went to Asia, I guess, to kind of give like a bit of a background on what the tour was. We went to Asia through a friend of mine. They had booked Jabberwockies the previous year. And they set up entertainment for military bases, like American military bases and families overseas. So if you go to like a military base in like Daegu, Korea, like the military base is like a city itself. It's like you go in and they have like a Walmart and they have like fast food, and it's really no different from like any American city. And that's their presence in Korea. So they bring performers and they bring artists, and they'll bring like Bruno Mars or like whoever, you know, and to perform on the bases, because there's, you know, thousands of people on the bases. So they bring entertainment. There's a company that runs entertainment, and they bring entertainment for the bases. So they brought us this year, and we did like 10 shows at different bases all over Asia. So we did like Guam, we did Japan, we did all over Korea. And so we put together like an hour show. And it's just like a lot of like our material. We've been dancing for so long, and all the routines that we did from like ABDC, all the times that we came on, the stuff that we did for World of Dance, everything. And we just kind of put together like a show, like an hour-long show with like DJ breaks in between and crowd interaction and painting. And it was really cool the way it came out, man. And it was a really cool crowd, because a lot of our fans are a little older now, and a lot of our fans have kids now. So they were bringing like their kids to our shows. And then we talked to the parents, and they'd be like, I voted for you guys when I was in high school. And I'm like, fuck, like, how old are you?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
damn, I'm old.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like I'm so much older than them. Like, you know, like some people will be like, damn, I'm old. But then I don't really feel old. I almost feel like they just caught up to me.
Yeah.
You know,
the same age. Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm totally that way too, for sure. I'm definitely 12 in my mind. 100%.
Right. When somebody was super young and now they're kind of like older, and I'm like, dang, how'd you catch up to me?
So are you doing like stadiums? You doing forums? Are you doing like what kind of venues?
Yeah, well, we were doing. They were small. They ranged. Some of them were like big theaters. Mm-hmm. Some of them were like a gymnasium that they turned into like, you know, a concert venue.
Right. With
like, you know, with the stage and the trust and everything like that.
Yep.
Like it's like a full-on production. It's a full-on production that they do. And then some of the bases that we went to actually didn't even have theaters or stages. So we just went and like did a thing for the kids and like taught a class or something like that. Or I would DJ somewhere or something. So.
And the setup was what? You DJ throughout the whole thing? There would be a DJ set on the stage, and then the painter would come in, and then he would leave.
Yeah, there was like
person.
Yeah, there was moments where, you know, we had like a whole video presence. The whole thing was synced to like a video. And so we would open with the video and a couple of numbers and like an introduction, and then like a couple other numbers, and then like the stage would go down, and then it would come up, and I'd be DJing, and I get on the mic and, you know, kind of get everybody jumping and play like a party rock set for like 10 minutes or something like that, and then transition to the next thing where John would come out and he would do the painting thing. And it was a really cool flow. It's something that after we did it, a lot of people were talking about like trying to sell it somewhere in Vegas, but then all this kind of craziness happened. We were supposed to do the same tour in Europe, like all over Italy and all over the place, and then there's no way that was going to happen once everything hit.
Yeah. It can still happen. That no one's going anywhere. You're definitely gonna. They're gonna definitely. It's
Well-
just kind of like people need content right now because we're all sitting watching Netflix and YouTube and everything else.
Netflix has got to be killing it right now, huh?
Oh man, they're all killing it. To be honest with you, I feel that they're. I mean, I feel really YouTube's probably doing the best. YouTube and TikTok for some reason. I don't even get that one. I saw and I follow the Jabberwockies too on TikTok, but I don't know. I'm not the way that my feed comes up. I have no idea who these people are, how they're coming up. They're just kind of throwing me people that I don't understand. But
Is TikTok only a dance thing?
No. It's really weird. I had this shuffler that I interviewed. Tell me, give me the breakdown. Give me the breakdown of how everything works. And it's and she does shuffle tutorials. There's they have people.
I don't mean to laugh at them. It just seems.
The one thing that no one really has realized, and it just actually dawned on me, TikTok was Musical.ly. That was that app Musical.ly. The guys they bought Musical.ly and then just changed it, reinvented it, I don't know, they reworked it or whatever. But I didn't understand Vine. You know what I mean? Like these kids who are doing, 3 or 4 videos of them falling downstairs or, jumping into pools from the roof. Like it's not entertainment to me. I mean, maybe it's entertainment for some people. It's just the Jabberwockies thing is good to I enjoy it because it's creative. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're doing cool things with what they do.
I think following somebody like the Jabberwockies and then like your run-of-the-mill popular TikToker or whatever, if they have a name, but if there's a big difference in seeing somebody like Jabba who has like a tangible skill that has been honed and practiced and well crafted over the past 20 years. What you're looking at is not just some guys dancing. Like you're looking at guys who dedicated their lives to it and they are sharp. That's top of the food chain.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with looking at that and being enamored by that and going down the rabbit hole of that, as far as I'm concerned. But the other ones, sometimes it's just some kid who just does like a popular dance and now he's like got like 1 million followers and like I don't really get it and they're kind of doing goofy things and you're like I'm not sure what the lure is here. Like I'm not looking at anything special. It's just a lot of people are looking at it for some reason. I guess I get what you're saying.
It's just there at some point it's so we have Jackass, and then a couple of years ago, I don't know if they're still around, so I'm probably talking smack about them, and they're still around. There used to be some, they were called the Janofskians or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what they might have been. It might have been Vine. I don't remember, but it was a bunch of guys. It was basically a mini Jackass. These kids who would jump off and staple their balls and do whatever else these kids do these days.
Right.
And they had millions and millions and millions of followers and views and all that kind of stuff. And then some brainiac somewhere said, hey, let's put these guys in a movie. And they spent a crap ton of money on this movie, and the movie did nothing. Zip, like lost money. It was like the worst movie ever. So you can sit there and be very creative in 15 seconds or 20 seconds, but once you start acting, like I know a lot of these Vine people who are like, and then tried to become actors, and they're like, yeah, no, like I can handle 15 seconds of you. That's about it. Any more than that, we're done. You got to move on. So being a guest spot on a TV show, not going to happen. Right. So
it's a funny thing, right? Because I was in Miami. I was in Miami for like a week or something like that, doing some stuff for World of Dance. And we threw a party out there. I DJ'd something someplace, but we ran into a couple of kids who came to the World of Dance event and they wanted to perform. And I didn't know who they were. And I was hosting the event. I didn't know who they were. And they were like, oh, it's new kids that we just added to the lineup of featured performers for World of Dance. I'm like, okay. So, I took the card, I read their intro, whatever, and they came out and they you know, they weren't good. Like they weren't even dancers. You could just tell, like they're doing like some choreographed dances kind of horribly, and their mix was off. It sounded like a cheerleading mix, like maybe their mom made or something like that. And just like, I was so confused by like management at World Dance. I was like, why would you guys put them on the featured lineup? Like, what was the point of that? And then I found out later they were like massive on TikTok. They had like 5 million followers or something like that, and they like put out these videos. And I'm just like, that wasn't, to me, when they put them on stage at World Dance, I was like, that wasn't a good look for them. Like, it was obvious that they're not even dancers.
Right.
And they were trying to collab with all the dancers that were there and kind of put out content, this and that. And all the dancers like obliged, and everybody made a video with them, a billion whatever followers. I didn't really care to have anything to do with it, but it's kind of weird because they ended up becoming famous in that world through like by chance.
Yeah.
You know, and there's not really like any talent tied to it. Like even their mom, you could tell, was trying to figure it out. Like, she was like, I'm not sure what to do with this. So
creativity, I don't know where social media is just basically killing everything right now. So hopefully we'll move on at some point.
yeah, like those kids got like major like bookings on World of Dance, and like they're not dancers.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, I think that
why would you put that? And then later on, they kind of regretted it. They were
Yeah.
like, yeah, that was kind of a bad move.
I think the same thing goes back to that little group that I was talking about, the Janoskians or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
They, I mean, you know, they have millions and millions of followers. They did a big meet and greet at Avalon in Hollywood and Vine, and like 150 people showed. Not thousands of people showed. 150 people showed. Like, it's just, and you can't make any money off of these people. That's the other thing. Like, TikTok is free. So I can, you know, anyone can jump on it. You're not making any money off of it. You're not getting any return on your investment. So why even bother at that point? You
I
know?
mean, maybe if they started pushing brands, they got sponsors and.
Yeah, but how do you get your return on
content?
investment that way either? Because my son, who's, you know, 6 years old, is on TikTok, or 8 years old is on TikTok, and sees that you're hawking, you know, some, you know, fit tea or something. He can't buy it. You're not gonna be able to buy it.
Isn't hawking fit tea, but
I'm just saying, like, that's it. You know, yeah, they can do brands, and yeah, a lot of eyes see it, but no one. It's just kind of like the sponsors in the middle of your Instagram feed. How many times have you clicked on those? I think I clicked on them once since they started doing the, like, when you're scrolling through, you see that little sponsor once, maybe, because they kind of know what you're looking for because they're paying attention to what you're scrolling. But yeah, I don't the return on investment that way. I don't understand. It's kind of a weird.
I don't even know if it's supposed to be a return on investment. So somebody had broken this down to me, how it goes, and I mean, I don't know if it applies, but so I was trying to figure out something similar, maybe not exactly like this, but trying to figure out like where the return is for companies investing in, say, like in social media, you know, influencer. And they're like, well, it's not necessarily supposed to be like a return. They're not looking for a return. So like a lot of the time, like a lot of these companies will have like a budget that's allotted. Say like if you have a major company and they have like a budget of $100,000 per quarter for promotional whatever. And there's somebody that's in charge of that. And he has to spend that money inside of that quarter. Otherwise, they lose that money because that's what it's allotted for.
Right.
So that's why, or like maybe special events or something like that. So it's not like, you know, say like Red Bull throws some event at Avalon in Hollywood and it's free. Like there's no return investment on that. That's just, they have a certain allotted budget for entertainment or for special events that they have to use, and they figure out a way to like promote their athletes or promote whatever it is that they're doing. So I think that a lot of companies say like if it's Fit Tea or something like that, or whoever has an allotted budget for promo and the end of the quarter is coming and they need to figure out where that money is going to go. Sometimes you turn to influencers because it's cheap. And let's say if that person or that girl or that kid has 2 million followers and they get engagement of 200,000-300,000 or 500,000 people, then that's kind of where it went. So it's not like they were looking for like an actual financial return for it, but that money had to go somewhere, and they're the cheapest with the most eyes on them, if that makes sense.
But the Red Bull thing at Avalon is you're going to that free party and you're going to drink free Red Bull in the hopes that you'll go buy the Red Bull. That's the return on investment. You know, like the Fit Tea. So what? 100,000 people of that million people that follow him saw it, but did they buy it? You know what I mean? So I guess that's my argument. It's like when you go to a party or an event and it's sponsored by Grey Goose, you're drinking Grey Goose and you're like, wow, actually this is really better than Absolute or so, you know what I mean? So you can change, you're getting something out of it. And I'm not getting anything. I'm watching some chick who uses the right camera angle and the right filter for Fit Tea, and I'm not buying that fit. I'm not going to look like that. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
I guess it's like cheap advertisement, because you could also buy a spot on, like, you know, on NBC or USA or CBS or not CBS, but it's some cable network, you know? Yep. And let's say their viewership is like maybe less than 1 million for like your average. TV is going way down. It's got to be like in the hundreds of thousands at this point, right? As far as viewership goes. And you're paying who knows how much money for like 30 seconds of ad time or whatever the fuck it is. Or you pay some influencer and you pay them a fraction of what you would have paid for that. And they have 2 million followers and they got like 1 million people engaged in it. So I get it. I understand. Hey, man, if you got the numbers, then play the game. But
I'm sure that there's probably our success stories in that world for sure. I can guarantee it. I just if there's 8 or 10 projects that are hawking out in these influencers, I feel that maybe 2 of them are going to get that return. But you're right. I mean, a commercial on a TV show anywhere, Hulu or ABC, CBS, NBC is probably, it's probably a couple $1 million for that 30-second spot on TV, where you could give some kid who, you know, jumps off of buildings into a pool $2,000 or something, and if it gets some traction, it gets some. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. It's not. I mean, and I'm sure it's probably a tax write-off too, because it's advertising costs. So they probably make money that way too. Yeah, that it's definitely a weird.
Hey, man,
for sure.
I'm trying to keep up with it too, just like everybody.
All right. So let's definitely touch base, and that's it. Thank you very much for doing this.
Appreciate you, man. Of course.
Of course. All right, buddy. If you need anything, let me know.
All right.
All right, brother.
Later.
See the light, your eyes wide shut, they need advice. I don't need you to live my life, and when I go, don't be surprised. I just don't care to say goodbye. Put on my life, I tell no lies. I see the future every time.